This is Artifact 6, Standard 3.1, Criterion 8, Implementing Learning Experience for Students who to be empathetic and socially responsible. I created a mini lesson for my 9th grade homeroom students about what it means to be socially responsible. The purpose of this lesson is to teach them what it means to be social or to practice social responsibility, especially when using online platforms. To do this, I had my students look at several different rules for social media, what it means to be a digital citizen, and then we looked at different scenarios. The students went around the room and did this carousel activity where they looked at several different scenarios and behaviors that are associated with those scenarios and had to answer the question that you see in bold. The students then came up with their own scenarios that they may have seen in real life or things that they can see happening in real life to demonstrate their knowledge and understanding of what it means to be socially responsible. These students, like this one, came up with a scenario about cyberbullying, what to do when students are being cyberbullied, and how to take responsibility when coming across cyberbullying. As I reflected on this lesson and this experience, I will admit that I was hesitant to implement this lesson due to students' reactions, not really feeling the need to do this, but I was actually quite surprised by student reactions. Yes, at first they did roll their eyes and kind of say what the big deal was, kind of, not sure why we were taking the time out of the day to do this. But in the end, they realized the value that comes from what it means to be a socially responsible digital citizen. I also created a mini lesson plan for my students that focuses on empathy. In this activity, what we did is we went through a Nearpod together as a class where students were able to answer open-ended questions and collaborate with each other about different scenarios and different ways to show empathy. Students read through these scenarios and then they commented or shared GIFs as to how they would react or how they would help out a fellow classmate who recently transferred to their school and is not sure where to sit in the cafeteria. As I reflected on this lesson, it was surprising to me just how students were able to relate and identify with very similar scenarios that have already happened to them, thus showing the need for lessons like this. This is Artifact 6, Standard 3.3, Criterion 10, Mentor Students in Safe, Ethical, and Legal Use, including Intellectual Property. I created a lesson about online safety that focused on helping students to understand and demonstrate reasonable awareness of the practices and procedures of online safety. To do this, students went online, watched a few videos, and then played a game through the FBI government website about how to stay safe online. This game, students had fun playing as they got to learn also about what it means to practice online safety. So students would be given different scenarios, what cyberspace was, what phishing is, and so on, that they can use to protect themselves while they are online. My reflection about this lesson is that it was very surprising that even though our students are used to technology and having devices, especially cell phones, that they really have a lack of knowledge about what it means to be safe and have practice online safety. So this showed the importance of having lessons like this to ensure that our... As I reflected upon this lesson, it was very surprising to me that even though our students are constantly online, they are on their phones playing games on social media, they really have a general lack of knowledge about what it means to be safe while online and how to practice online safety. Upon this realization, students committed to practice online safety as well as to encourage their peers and family members to also practice online safety. I also taught a lesson about what copyright was and fair use, as well as legal and ethical practices. In doing so, I created a booklet that talked about examples of media, public domain, fair use, as well as copyright infringement, what copyright was, and so on. Afterwards, students came up with scenarios about what copyright is and what it isn't, and how to practice legal and ethical citizenship while online. Ethical citizenship. The reflection that I had with this lesson is that students tend to not think about copyright issues, so this really showed me the importance of constantly going back and reviewing what it means to be ethical and legal in our online practices. This is Artifact 6, Standard 3.4, Criterion 11, Model Responsible Use, including protection of digital identity and personal data. In this mini lesson about digital identity, students had the conversation and collaborated about what it means to represent yourself online. Things that you post online tend to represent who you are, and are you okay with those representations that you portray? As a way of demonstrating this, students went online to the social media test drive website. Here, students were able to learn and practice their digital footprint, key ideas, social media skills, and then reflect on what they did. In my reflection of this lesson, it was a real eye-opener to my students just how they represent themselves online. They have committed to thinking twice about what they put online and how it can reflect the type of person that they are and what the world may view of them based off of their actions while online, especially on social media. This is a definite lesson that will need to be repeated and reminded to help students to continue to practice their digital footprints and how they portray themselves while they are online. In the data privacy lesson, we discussed as a class about why online privacy matters. The focus and the objective to this was to help students to discuss the impact of computing technology on business and commerce, how businesses collect and use data about visitors to their websites and applications. To do this, students watched a video on YouTube about how ads follow you around the internet. As they watched the video, they were asked several questions that helped them to understand how data and privacy works online. As we reflected on this lesson, we talked about taking action such as using strong and unique passwords, enabling the two-factor authentication, be cautious about personal information that you put on the internet, keeping your software up to date, and of course be cautious of phishing scams and monitor your credit report continually. By teaching students to implement these tips and to stay vigilant on a daily basis, this will help to protect their data privacy and reduce the risk of identity theft or other online threats.